Alright, horrible. Let's see if we can go ahead and zoom out a bit, because I had this set up for my games on World Baduk, which I tighten up to kind of hide my account name, because I have no idea what their policy is. You, come down. Oh no, now I've done it. No, zoom in. There we go. This should be about right. Though actually, I think I can enhance that a bit. There we go. Alright, that looks like I can get started now. So, like I said, my hope right now is to have more of a Q&A style. On that note, are there any questions that you guys have about things that you would like to see? Is there something that you'd like to go over? Could do that. Are there any other suggestions? Just so I can kind of get a hint on where this is going? Or is that the only question we have so far? Black to play and win from move 1. That's actually fairly simple. I can easily tell you about that, Robert. Though it involves actually playing face to face, and you have to have a hammer. So I can go over that as well. But alright, talk about... That is essentially what I was thinking about, yes. If they're unconscious, then they can't play, therefore you win. Congratulations for reading that out, though. You definitely must be a Dawn level player. But alright, let's see. Artboy says he wants to talk about opposing Komoku. Right away, what kind of opening do you have exactly in mind? Do you mean on both sides, or when it's just, Actually, better yet, I'll give you control so you can show us what exactly you had in mind. Well, you have control, so set something up. I can try, though you might have to stop me and get me to go over something there, Blacklight, because some of what I say is just without thought. Alright, let's see. We do see this occasionally. There are many... Right. There are many different ideas here that black can play. Though I like that you pointed out, or that you immediately set up that black has 2/4/4 points here, because opening does matter a little bit. For instance, right now we have these 2 stones on the 4th line, not let's say 3/4 or worse yet 3/3. So we can kind of guess here that black is interested in, or at least has opened the possibility of obtaining influence. So to that extent, we can go ahead... yes, I am also recording. So for that to that end, we can go ahead and approach high, because we have no reason not to. We're not interested solely in playing for territory, for example. So there's no reason to go low right now. After this, it really depends on what white is going to do. For example, right now the most common response to this position is to make the most basic exchange that you can possibly make. Influence for territory. In that your opponent's going to go ahead and take some territory for himself. You're going to play fast to develop. That's really bothering me that I'm getting that every now and then. Why am I suddenly getting bandwidth issues? I don't have anything else open. One second. Yeah, I have nothing else open right now. My latency should be relatively fine. wonder if it's on live stream's end. Or if it's live streamed in conjunction with KGS. Simply can't handle streaming on... I don't know. Whatever. I'll worry about it later. Anyway, that aside, we have some comments. Heard this has fallen out of favor. It's still playable. Who's it supposedly good for? It's an even result. This is still played professionally. Of course, if you don't want to play this way, you can of course go ahead and simply play normal Joseki. However, the problem with that is, again, you still don't have solid territory here, and chances are you've just given your opponent an enclosure of some sort. So, if I had to pick between the two, I would have just gone ahead and approached. The real trouble, in my opinion, comes from when your opponent decides not to play this way. When he decides, for example, to go ahead and pincer. Because anyone can memorize Fuseki. It's what happens when your opponent deviates that things start getting a little problematic. And here, definitely, we have a problem. We have to figure out what's strong, what's weak, what's important, what's not, things like this. Does anyone have any ideas on how you would handle this position as black here? With what group? F15. F15... I don't think I'd play G16. I think I want to play a little bit... yeah, I wouldn't want to leave that much Aji behind. I do like simply jumping out right now at... well, any of them, though. I'm going to go ahead and pick F15 since that was said first. Because this is threatening to surround White's corner. And White probably doesn't want to do that. I mean, if White decides to go back and put all of his stones aiming at, for example, killing these two of Black's, I don't think Black is really going to mind, because he's simply going to profit everywhere else on the board. So obviously White can't play this way. This is just completely unreasonable. White, now that he's picked a fight, he really can't back away from it. So he has no choice but to go ahead and make sure that you're not going to get surrounded. Black's going to attach, of course. And then chances are we're going to go back and finish our Joseki. Again, White probably doesn't want to get surrounded. And now we've got a stone to attack. If White jumps, so will we, because now we're threatening to turn in two directions. Either the surround of one or two. I'm actually a bit more comfortable playing this way than I am the actual set Fuseki. Is D8 an overplay? D8, D8, D8. D8's an interesting move. You could try playing this. What would you do? Well, right off the hand, I guess one natural move would be to attach under, but this seems like it might be a bit too nice for... I don't know. This is nice, and it isn't nice at the same time. I mean, Black's settled here now. White's got some influence, but then Black can go ahead and turn. What else do we have here? Yeah, it does get horribly complicated, Shauna. You're right. I don't think I like the lean. I think we can pretty much rule this out. This seems like we're making too much of a headache for ourselves. I mean, we can kill two stones, and we're going to get our stones killed at the same time. I don't think I would like this result for Black. I would imagine simple connection would be the response here. And then if white connects, we'll simply take a larger move elsewhere. Go back to attacking this later, because we do have a few, let's say, go ahead and pass. We do have a few interesting points that we can still poke at, for example, like g10. Begins to try and ruin white's shape. And even a simple move like this is threatening to continue surrounding it. I mean, I don't think white's going to want this entire group surrounded. So you have nice follow-ups against it still. But yeah, it's horribly complicated. But I think it's horrible complication that's a little bit in favor of black rather than white, because it seems that black is fighting from a stronger position. Of course, from here, maybe white will settle, and then of course it just go ahead and remember that you can essentially get some nice influence this way, and you still should be fine. Let's see, I've completely ignored Art Boy, sorry about that. Let's see, on this variation, I know where you're referring to, I just don't know where exactly I put those 1 and 2s. Ah, here we are. So you're asking if white plays 1, would you cap it 2? Is that what you're asking here? Tough decision. I suppose so. I don't see anything horrible happening here. Though I am tempted to strengthen my group one more time. Because even k17 here is still a nice move for black to get. And if that's taken away from me again too, now I definitely will pincer now that my group's all nice and strong. But yeah, you have the right idea. Crazy whole board fight though. I mean, I don't see a reason to play this way simply because this is going to degenerate into a fight that's just going to mess up the entire board. And I usually try to avoid sequences that are going to ruin that much. I typically don't like that at all. I like keeping the game nice and simple, having a lot of Aji remaining. That way mid-game is exciting and what both players can pull off. And since it bears mentioning, no, I am simply answering questions. Since it also bears mentioning, I can also say that this cut doesn't really matter because it's small. Some players find themselves cutting this too soon if they try and play this way, not realizing that they're probably going to wind up in Gote if they actually try and use this influence here, for example. Like right now, if we wanted to either kill this stone or get some influence down here or whatever, that we'll be giving away Sente. So black can keep following up while white's just concentrated in one little lone corner that can still be reduced. So that's not too good. Actually, that's a little bit of an understatement. That's pretty horrible, to be honest. But alright. Let's see. Did you have any other questions about this, Art Boy? He said Sanrinsei. Do you believe what I just showed is complicated? Well, actually, okay, yes. What I showed on the variations, if I can find it again, where this board turns disgustingly complicated because we've got running fights here. Yeah, this is complicated. That's true. And white began it. All black wanted was the left, is how this originally began. This is all black wanted. He just wanted a little left side that could still be invaded, a little bit of influence, that's it. It's all black was interested in. But then white decided to say no in pincer, and then it does begin a complicated variation, and when that happens, you need to know how to handle it. But my rank at the moment is, I think I'm officially in AGA 5 down at the moment. Other servers, some other ranks, but whatever. Okay, so are there any other questions? Not trying to not answer the San Rinsei one, but I am not trying to answer the San Rinsei one. If so, we can go ahead and, well, I can see why high-ranked games would confuse you a bit, but what I try and do is I try to simplify that confusion whenever possible. Because usually it's always been my philosophy that we tend to actually to overcomplicate the game a lot more than it needs to be. And that's generally a lot of the reason for why we have trouble in Go, even at my level. There's just needless complication. And Qs like doing it too. They memorize things like the Avalanche and the Taisha. No idea why, it's just going to destroy half the board, but they play it anyway. Real quick, easy example of that. But alright, it looks like we have a common theme of invasions, and since Emerus did want to know about San Rinsei, let's go ahead and talk about San Rinsei. This will probably be the only time I talk about San Rinsei. So, might as well go ahead and go over it. San Rinsei. Alright, obviously, right now, there is no reason to go ahead and invade. If you look at this and you say, oh no, black has too much, I have to get rid of it, bad, bad, bad thoughts. There's no reason to. Not when everything left of these markers is still open. As long as all of this is still open, there's no reason to jump back there and invade. So we don't. We go ahead and approach normally. Jump in. No. So we go ahead and approach normally, and black generally has a few different options, either backing off or pincering being the two most common. Though Shauna would like to know if O5 is black here is possible? Or are you saying, I hope you're saying O5 is black. Alright, yeah, okay, good. Not white. Whew. Yeah, I guess it's possible. However, you have to be very, very careful when you're playing this way, because you are leaving behind small knights. So later on, for example, you have to wonder what happens if white gets to invade again. He's threatening to cut your small knight. If he cuts you, the counterattack is more or less over and you're back into having to live mode, because your corner is surrounded and you turn into a life and death problem. While you're trying to live, you can't really go ahead and kill anything. Hard to do that if you're not alive. So my preference would be not to play a move like this. I like keeping things simple. I'd probably play A, to be honest. If you can actually go ahead and get away with it, sure. But that takes reading, maybe. Killing is a nice way to live, that is true. But if you die first, then I think we needed a backup plan. But yeah, this is essentially going to take advantage of the fact that two things are open still. 3-3, very invadable. The cut point we can go ahead and aim for. Might even go ahead and aim for it by playing a move like C, because here we're threatening to go underneath black stone as well as cut through the small knight, because that still works out, doesn't it? So that's a lot of agi behind. It would make me uncomfortable. This feels greedy for me. It's just not my style of play. I'm sure it's a fine move. K3. Or sorry, K4. Very, very wide pincer. I don't think anyone's going to be able to look at K4 and not help themselves to your corner. At which point, do you know how to block this, Shauna? Do you know which way you should block here? S4. Oh, R4. Ah, Robert T, YQ3. Do you know? Or are you just guessing? Well, you're cutting no matter what direction you're playing there, right? Because you don't get blocking shape with K4 too far away. Good answer. Yes, exactly. These stones, I'll highlight this. These stones are never going to connect to K4. So K4 has now essentially been left all by its little lonesome. It's going to have to live by itself. So what we usually do here is block in this fashion. Simply because here we're actually getting a wall, sure. We're using that wall, and we can build up to Q10 for more influence if necessary. You meant K4 in the O5 variation. Ah, well, that changes things a little bit. You mean play K4 now as white? No, it's black. Here? Ah, okay. K4 says you have no idea what you're doing. Because what you tried to do here, and I mean that as politely as possible, but what you tried to do this with these two stones, well, this stone in particular, is build up the right-hand side. And now you just changed your mind. You're trying to fight the left-hand side, and you're forcing your opponent right to where you were trying to build up. So these two moves contradict each other. Because now which way are you going to defend? Are you going to defend your prophet on the right-hand side, or are you going to defend your stone on the left-hand side? That's not a question you'd like to ask yourself. So just as, essentially, the good thing to point out there then, I guess, is just as white wasn't jealous about these three stones that that black has here, the Sanrense, because the rest of the board is still so open, black shouldn't have been jealous about what white's starting to get on the bottom because of what black is trying to develop on the right-hand side. So both cases are an example of when one player was simply jealous of what the other was doing, dropped everything to try to get rid of it. And that can be a bit of a bad idea. Does all this make sense, Shauna? Alright, great. Yeah, p5 probably is a bit better than the small knight if you want to play like that. I agree. Emmers had a question that I missed, apparently. Oh! Yeah, we see that a lot in Q level play. How many people here have seen this in their games? Anyone? Yeah, this isn't really that threatening. Really? Shauna says white should resign. Alright, Robert T says that you don't play horrible moves, but who do you think is horrible, Robert T? Is it white or black? MEL likes white, probably because I've mentioned this to him before. No? Alright. Meepy says 50-point area for black. Very, very good question. But we have a problem here. Let's think about endgame for a second and just figure out how much territory. I can't pay attention to everyone element C. I go back and read, so give me a minute. Go back. If we go back here and figure out how much territory black has, it's probably going to be his that we can't really get away with. That we really can't get rid of. I mean, all of this is pretty much solid territory, right? I don't think anyone disagrees so far that this is pretty much solid territory so far. Anyone disagree with any of this at the moment? Alright, so at the moment, Black's got roughly 34 points or so, plus what he can make out in the middle. Now, the problem here is how many points does... Whoops, get rid of that one. How many points does white have so far? And he's making about the same top and bottom. So he's got about 16... Let's go ahead and give him an even 20 points, because I hate counting odd numbers. So let's say about 20 points. But he's also got Comey, so let's go ahead and give him 6 more points. So roughly the difference is beginning to shrink, and white now has Sente. So suddenly this area is looking smaller and smaller. So all white really has to do is reduce slightly, because he's going to be gaining on the opposite side. Black doesn't really have a chance to keep defending this way. All white really needs is to make up the difference with his 2 corners, which is not unreasonable. So this looks like a very, very bad board for black, from my opinion. Which is why usually when I've seen this position come up in professional games, we don't actually see the double pincer. We see black backing off. That way he's got 4th line territory and expansion out into the middle. And depending on how white plays, maybe we can go ahead and expand easier later on because we didn't pincer him. So this really becomes a bit of a counting game. But it's not one that white should be afraid of. B does look like a bit better like this, yes. This is the way that, in my opinion, black should be playing here. Black shouldn't really be pincering twice. That seems to be a bit greedy, and if he's not counting, he's going to lose the game, and he's going to have no idea how. No problem. Alright, and element C, I have been ignoring him, so let's go ahead and figure out what he's been saying. Wouldn't approach this way. Yep, okay. Ignored what I said, right? So we're going back up and seeing what he did say. N10 or something? Ah, the invasion. Anything else? Ah, I see. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else here that I can go over about invasions? I don't think so. I've seen some really weird invasions here. I'd have to search my database for them exactly. But, yeah, without searching my database, I don't really want to go over them right now. Suffice it to say, this many fourth line stones, there are a lot of different places that you can invade later if you get yourself into a bit of a mess. Because either of these stones are threatening to go ahead and go under Q10, while still being able to extend to, let's say, 1 or 2. As well as reserving options to jump out. So there is a lot of things here. I have seen yes, I have actually seen that before. I have actually seen R10 just played directly and white live on one side or the other. That game I have somewhere on my hard drive because I had to keep it because I found that funny due to my disdain for La Sanrense. I definitely thought that was a cool move when I saw it. You invade their... well, if you're invading there on your third move, then you're overplaying, and you're probably losing a lot of your games. Later on, maybe it's a bit more understandable. Alright, hope you'll forgive me, but I am done with the Sanrense. Were there any other questions? Nobody dare say Tengen. Weird openings? Can you define me a weird opening there? Oh my, wow, you really do mean weird openings. Yeah, that's about as weird as you can get if you're... just play territorially. The only reason they're playing sides first is because they think you're an idiot. They think that, essentially, the strategy when you see them opening up on literally playing things like K4 as their first move is they expect to invade you, and now that they have a move taking away some of your influence, that you're going to be hopelessly confused and lose the game. Yoda played... did he lose that game, hopefully? So, yeah, okay, didn't think so. Did he lose that game, Colm? Because yes, I have seen some people play this, but it's tried out once in a while, not in a professional level though. I mean, usually when I see people playing the sides, it's because there's a new 9-dan who wants to get his rank back very, very fast on Taigem, for example. So he plays absolute trash against weak players in order to get them to resign really quickly. That's the only time that I've seen it. Micro Chinese. I think I actually have a lecture with the Micro Chinese. Actually, I have a lecture and a game that I played where I used the Micro Chinese. My last Fordon game on my live stream had Micro Chinese. Difference between micro and regular is the placement of the stone. This is regular Chinese, micro Chinese is one further back. Yeah, this is mini Chinese. That's micro Chinese. Difference here being it's a lot harder to invade this because now we have no extension. We've just got this very cramped shape here that's about to get surrounded. So this is a position that white does not want to be in. Newest Fuseki actually kind of goes back to the game that I was going to play if we didn't have any questions, or I was going to go over if we didn't have any questions. It's not really a Fuseki. We're still seeing a lot of the orthodox, but we're seeing differences in Joseki. Cisco, that's going to make my brain explode. What about the Fuseki where B has 2 Komoku, white has 1 gobbledygook? Let's just give him control so we can show us what he means. That is a new word for today, gobbledygook. Yeah, this is common. Black is simply trying to essentially build a very fast framework. For example, yeah, you were right, he would finish off here. And this is an attack on the corner. Whether you feel you have to respond to it is completely up to you. But if we don't respond to it, then we can quickly envision white getting surrounded and black having a lot of influence. Or let's say, I don't know, just for giggles, let's give black a large enclosure here. There's also problems with the invasion itself, because now it seems that white's living very, very small. No room to make a two-space extension, so he's going to have to come out, I guess. Which might let black profit. And no, Emiya, you haven't played the Joseki yet. Yeah, this used to be, variations like this used to be popular for a while. Though I think this was most common. I could be completely wrong about this. At least this is what I saw in amateur play. Oops, sorry, I messed that one up. Might help if black responds first. Thank you very much. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's bad, it's just that it's essentially fallen out of style. I mean, after this, there's only a few ways that you can actually follow up. What Chiseki did you see there, Filth? Two space low pincer. Yeah, I can see what. Oh, and double up. I see. Let's go ahead and simplify this a bit. Let's give it some context. Let's use this in an orthodox environment. Let's go ahead and approach, two space low, and then change direction. Did you see the change direction two space or one space? Yep. And then you saw this. Is this what you saw? Oh, good, because this I'm not going over. I'd have to spend an hour on this alone. Then it was this that you saw? But now I'm really curious. Different double approach. Oh, two space low approach? Huh. Oh, one space but high. Okay. Then yeah, you probably saw this. And 3-3 now? Yes, no? Hane first? That's a bit out of order, I think. Yeah, 3-3, and then Hane. And then I'm going to assume, did you see the P6 or the R5 variation? R5, okay. Yeah. Let's see, did you see this, perhaps? Oops, not that. Well, W is also ending in Gote. W's got very nice influence, and if we actually find ourselves responding here, we might be in a little bit of trouble, because there's just so many different ways for white to build up. It's rather important that we take our Sente here. Yeah, I say white. This seems to be good for white, because he's getting a lot of influence. He's getting Sente, whereas black's essentially being confined on the right-hand side. So it's kind of important that black takes a Sente and tries to begin reducing the influence. And again, this also kind of goes into what I was actually going to show if we didn't have too many questions. Though actually, no, I'm lying. That variation's a bit bad. I don't think white should play this way. White should play this way because of the low stone. Sorry, he'd play that way if it was high. Again, I'm thinking about the game I was going to show. In which case, black would cut, white would back off, Atari, ladder has to take, and then we can go ahead and take the stone. This was fairly common for a while. Still see it in hide on amateur games. Because it's not that complicated with Joseki. It's not spilling out across the board. There's still a lot of Aji left. Usually when we have a Joseki like that, it becomes popular for amateurs to play. No, I said something different in your game. The context was a lot different. In your game, you had white with this corner. And now it's too good. Let's see, Artboy, is there a way to download my... no, I don't think so. Technically, it should be possible for... Well, I don't think I should be saying this on live stream. Technically, it should be possible for any video that's being streamed to your computer to be captured and recorded. I don't know of any programs that do that right now. Livestream does not offer a download feature, so that's about all I can say about that. But I guess since we are going over this one a lot, what am I going to do? I'm going to stop my stream right now. I'm going to start it back up, and I'm also going to open up a new board. At that point, I'm going to go over a game which has the Joseki that we've now gone over, I don't know, twice, I think. That I had also picked out to go over. Alright, you seem to have connected. But it looks like you want too much of my bandwidth. Maybe I should decrease my audio settings. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, live stream again. Doesn't give me problems when I'm... I think right now I'm having trouble with having my voice over KGS as well as video and audio on live stream. I think that's why I'm getting bandwidth issues, though unless KGS recently upped the bandwidth that they're allowing for teachers, I don't think that should be a problem, because it didn't used to be. I don't know. Anyway, this was the interesting game that I thought that I picked out just in case we didn't have many questions and I needed some things to go over for today. It had one of my favorite players that I haven't really seen around in a while in terms of good games to study of his. A lot of you people probably won't recognize this player, and that's okay. Usidol is my favorite pro. But yes, Black used to be one of my favorite players. He was like one of the 3 strongest players in China. And to give you an idea, I mean, the other 2 are Guli and Kongji, and they're kind of taking turns being top of the country. And Black here is pretty strong as well. Sadly, he's not 9P yet, though. Hope that changes. I would imagine everyone knows those 2 now. But yes, modern game, we see orthodox. Also modern game, we don't split, we go ahead and approach. And also modern response, we are actually pincering, we're seeing a lot of high pincers here as well. Because for a while, we were seeing a lot of low, and that resulted in a lot of openings that I've already gone over. For example, this one, very, very common, with a few different Chiseki choices here. And they have also explored this variation for quite some time. So now, in true professional fashion, they have moved on to other things. And so now they're experimenting with the high pincer. And seeing what interesting variations can be found here. They're constantly researching new sequences to play. It makes their games very interesting to watch. Not just for the fights, but for the new variations they decide to pull out. I don't really see that so much in Japanese games, but I do see it a lot in Chinese and Korean games. Just a guess, but I'm going to assume that groups of professionals actually discuss the move. Merits for, against, the weight of each move, that sort of thing. So we've been seeing the high pincer here quite often. By quite often, I mean like in the past month or so, so it's relative. And we're also seeing a lot of reapproaches, because again, there's not really much here for white. I mean, we can jump out, but what are we getting here as white? We're just looking to settle, and that's really about it. It's not very comfortable for white. Not much profit there. So he changes direction, since there's really nothing for him. There's no real point in jumping out. Black attaches, white dives into the corner. Now we see this a lot, which I've commented on a few times now. It seems bad direction for a lot of people because we have no stone at A to use with this. So they say this, no good. Unless you have a stone to use with your wall, you shouldn't play this way. And that's one very good idea. You should usually have something to use with your influence if you're creating influence. I will agree with that. But what's the alternative? To play a variation like this where you're just trying to kill off one stone? That's not very good. That's kind of, well, not kind of, that is over-concentrated. So we don't want to play this way at all. Especially since in endgame, we also have more forcing moves here. That just gets really, really, really disgusting. I don't think anyone here wants to be black right now, because black does not have a very nice position here. So instead of all of this, well, even S14, all you're doing is capturing one stone, and now a move like this is threatening to escape that stone. So you're still leaving Aji. So instead we're seeing the block this way. And general idea here is that we're going to try and either get Sente to play A, or we're going to get enough profit that white can't just completely remove everything that we're getting, something along those lines. Immediately, white tries to come out, and this is where complication starts to arise. Because what is going to happen from here? In this game, black connects, which is a little bit surprising, because we've been seeing this a lot, as we just went over. But we usually only see this when we've got a nice approach in the upper left-hand corner. That way we can begin reducing this. But we don't have an approach. We've only got a split, which is just inviting white to enclose and take territory. So I'm going to assume that's why he decided to reject this variation. And went with something else. Calm says, what about P14? B14's been played by... Oh, instead of... okay. Well, then you're getting into this. You have no choice but to go ahead and connect, I suppose. At that point, I don't know, cutting looks fun. So I guess we're going to connect. And at that point, if we're going to kill this, we have to make sure this ladder doesn't work for us. And right now, we can ask ourselves, where is this ladder going? And right now, it's going to the very bottom of the board. But who does it work for? White or black? Who does it work for? It works for white. Indeed it does. This is the move that we would like to play. So I don't think we can get a good result here. I guess technically we have this. And this does look kind of appealing, I have to say. Well, because black's getting a lot of influence. No, ladder doesn't work for white. That's why it was captured. Or what? Wait a minute. Sorry? I didn't bother reading that out. You said ladder did work for white. Is that not true? Ah, it doesn't, does it? Okay. So that makes it even better for white, or for black, sorry. Yeah, because this wouldn't be very good. Sorry, I just went with what you guys said, and when I asked, I saw someone read white, so I went with that. Ooh, 7Q, maybe I should have read that myself. But yes, this ladder doesn't work. Ah, I see. You just read this variation. Yeah, that'd be a bit of a different matter. So yeah, we probably don't want to do that. Instead, we're probably going to go ahead and Atari, and then take out. But black still gets to go ahead and profit here. So this would still be reasonable position to play. Black's getting a nice little area to develop. White's area still invadable. So instead of all of this, white decides to break out, and black decides to connect. Now we have a problem because we have weak groups to look after. We've got how many different stones here? This, and now those with a happy cut. Now thankfully there is Joseki here as well. This attachment, for example, is Joseki, a bit higher than most of the people here, I think. So I'm just going to go ahead and run through this. Here we're making sure that our stone doesn't get beaten and left for dead. White threatens to go ahead and live in the corner, give himself some eye shape. Black says, I don't want to die. White says, please kindly, can I surround you? Black says, no, I don't want to be surrounded, so he goes underneath. We don't like our corners being surrounded. That's when we turn into life and death problems, and that's not usually good for us. I mean, living small with our cornerstone in the very beginning of the game, giving white all that influence, yeah, that definitely wouldn't be very good. White continues to gain influence here. Get himself nice and strong, so black can't poke at the shape. And here's where something funny happens. Black starts poking at the shape. So obviously white has to defend. So he defends. At which point black plays the Hane. And now we have troubles here. Why trouble? Because it looks like we're trying to develop territory on the 6th line. Now, I don't think any of us here would be comfortable with black developing territory on the 6th line, would we? So white responds to make sure that black doesn't have the Sente moves, because if we just went ahead and invaded, for example, let's say, I don't know, right now, and the minute black pushes out, then we have to be very careful because our entire group falls under attack, because white's starting to get surrounded by black now, so that's not good. Similarly here, we don't try and do something weird here because that turn is very large now. So takes the Sente moves away from black before threatening to do something about this. And here's where book knowledge goes right out the window. Because just looking at this small knight enclosure, where would you want to reduce a small knight? To reduce a small knight enclosure like this? Where are your reduction areas? We've got S4, potentially, okay, sure. Any others? That's the one I was looking for, Robert T. Yes. P5. What can any of you guys tell me about P5? Alright. We have people saying, agree, let's go ahead and play, okay, fine, R5 too. We have a lot of people saying, go ahead, play P5. Alright. Any problems with P5? Does that strike you as odd for any interesting reason? I hope it does. I talk about imaginary lines you can't see all the time. Yes, behind enemy lines. So we have to be careful because there's this little line here that we're sort of behind of black's, the area of his influence. If he caps us, for example, then we can't really run out. We're struggling. So that being said, white goes ahead and plays it. And just like I said, black caps. Obviously, there's nothing else that you would play here. I mean, we can't defend. If we defend and give white this influence, he's gonna have a very, very happy day. I mean, he's almost making influence down across the entire board at this point. You can't let that happen. That would be the end of the game. You'd pat yourself on the back that you have a large corner if you were black here on the right-hand side. And you'd just be giving away everything else. You would not have any hope of reducing all of this. So that's simply out of the question. We could play this, but it's just kind of forcing black out, and then we might have to go back and defend anyway, allowing white to continue to develop that thing that we didn't want him to develop. So instead, black simply goes ahead and caps. And now we have to live. But how are we going to live? We can't live over there on the right, can we? Is that enough space to live? He's a pro. Well, he'll live. That good faith you got there, Emerus. Good faith. Indeed, Element C, I've seen pros die a lot. In fact, some of my favorite games to go over are when pros get horribly destroyed. Because I like looking at that mistaken thinking that even on even pros can make on the most basic level. That's kind of what I try to focus on, are basic things like that. Those help me a lot more in my games than really long, complicated, drawn-out games, typically anyway. A lot funner to teach as well. Alright, so we have to live here, so we're going to try and live. But the question here, and the really important lesson, is how black is going to answer. Because in trying to deal with this, you also have to remember that white is a professional 7-dan, and he did not find that rank out of a Cracker Jack box. He knows his life and death. He's very good at reading. He will be able to read A Way to Live if you give him the slightest bit of Aji to work with. So black's moves has got to be very strong. They have to be nice and solid. M3 would be an example of not doing that. Because you're essentially trying to surround with a small knight, which leaves cut points. That could be dangerous. So we play M4 instead. It's a nice strong move that can't be cut through. And, oops, sorry, my headset kind of went crazy there for a moment. And live stream is not being crazy. Alright, I like that. Alright, so white tries to escape by hurting Cornerstone. Cornerstone has to be protected. Don't want him living in our corner. That would be embarrassing. So he responds. Tries to surround the corner. Again. You can turn him, if you can keep him defended, then he's not attacking, so he's not killing you. Nice strategy there. Gotta respond. White goes to try to make some shape here. Also to cut, because keep in mind now that this is a large knight, and everyone here knows large knights can be cut through. If these two groups get cut apart and have to live separately, no real time to kill white then, is there? 1 second. Alright, so what can we do instead? All we can do, connect up. We can't let ourselves be disconnected. If we get broken up into those two weak groups, we are in too much trouble. So white descends, threatening to expand for a little bit of a base here. Black threatens to poke. Tries to escape a little bit. Maybe get another eye. And here's where things get really interesting. At this point, black offers a little bit of a trade. Not for white to capture his way out. Because after I played another move, I'll go ahead and show that. Not for black to capture his way out, because he can't. All he can do is this. And if he tries playing this way, he's not even completely alive yet. He still has to find a way to live here. And it's still very nice for black. But white says no. No compromise. I am living with all of it. So black tends to get stronger and stronger. Then goes back and denies him his eye. No escaping. So white tries to live. Now, is this alive as is, do you think? Because we've got lots of confidence in pros. I mean, they're pros, they can live. So is this alive? Is this not alive? How do we kill it if it's dead? What do you guys think here? Who can find the right move? All right, 3Q has got it. Oh, sorry. But Eternity beat you guys to it. Congratulations, Eternity. You must practice life and death. S7 is indeed the right move here. S7 is threatening to do many different things. It's threatening to cut, it's threatening to connect. It's a shape point for white. So he throws in, has to respond. But at this point, we can't really kill him. That's a bit, whoops, sorry, my bad. That's a bit unfortunate. There's only the one eye and just the one eye. Nothing else. Now, those two stones got killed. That's very, very unfortunate. But only those two stones got killed. Because this is now false. As Big Monkey just said, GG. So I find it's not often that you see something that basic, where white invaded arguably a little bit too deep, and then tried to save everything and obviously got killed. Very, very rare that you see something like this happen. Nope, he's not fake. You can't really fake a professional 7-down ranking. I mean, he tries to break out. He tries to do a lot of different stuff here. For example, maybe we can go ahead and kill black or something. But he denies the connection underneath, that T9 would have been connection. And then tries to kill black. So he does make a nice effort in trying to turn this game around. He doesn't give up just yet. But black simply doesn't let anything past him. Yeah, he ends up resigning. I'm just going to show the rest of the game real quick. Because essentially at this point, black's out on both sides. So it's almost impossible to actually kill him. But we do have to keep we do have to keep going back and questioning what's weak. Here, for example, it looks like this is under attack, but it isn't. The bottom is. He's threatening to surround everything on the bottom right now. Now that those two stones are strong, so black has to get out. So it's very easy to make make a mistake here and wind up really regretting our moves. But as long as we're careful, then there's no problem. Like here, for example, if we actually respond to this, we're going to get cut through. I don't think he's hoping for a mistake. It looks like there's enough Aji that you can legitimately question how much, if there's anything here, essentially. But as soon as it becomes apparent that nothing's here for white, then he resigns. So saying that he's playing like a 5Q is a bit much. Because, I mean, he is keeping black looking for life. With two different groups here. Only trouble is his own groups are too weak. So he has to keep defending his own. And while he's defending his own, he obviously doesn't have a chance to keep trying to attack black. Though, at this point, things really do end. Because after this, there's just nothing. Because at this point, not only did you fail to kill black when you cut through him, but your cutting stones just got killed as well. So that's pretty much the end of the game at that point. Really not much you can do here now. Anyway, kind of like the Q&A style that we had in the beginning. I might try and do that again at some point, though did not like the Sanward say so much. That first part, I highly doubt it actually got uploaded correctly, because I had that ban